right, my friend. We ready?
Now we are, yes.
State change.
You can even add that in if you want to, mate. Yeah.
Welcome back to Open Up Podcast. I believe this is episode 248 with my man, Gibbo, Geoff Gibson. Spent a long time in the oil and gas sector. Has become one of my friends, one of the people that I care about. And his story is around alcohol, and he's got to the point now where he's spent so much time sober and learned so much about himself that he's created or written a book and created a course called Get Off It with Gibbo, or just Get Off It, where he's helping men get off the booze. So if this is of interest to you, then please listen along. But brother, to begin this one, I want to ask you, how would you describe yourself as a man and or human being? Either one.
Firm but fair.
Firm but fair.
Firm but fair, mate. I think I've got this big bullshitter meter, I guess you could call it. I've been in an industry, when I started, it was pretty hardcore back then. They'd only just stopped bluing in the mess, offshore pretty much. And HSC was this new thing. And yeah, it was a baptism of fire when I started. And I guess that's really stuck with me.
So when you say firm but fair, what do you mean by that in terms of the way that you show
up? So the way that I show up, I'm firm but fair on myself. I realise that you need to take time out for yourself, but you still need to get work done.
Yeah.
I also realise that there's a discipline aspect for self-care where you need to take time out for yourself and get that work done. So right now, we're in the middle of winter in Perth and it's cold and the alarm goes off and I should be jumping up into my morning routine. I just think, I might just spoon the dog for an extra 10. And then there's still, your commitments start at that day, and then you sort of lose a part of that morning practice and you really, really feel it if you've lost 3 or 4 days. So, today I went, righto, get out of bed. You're doing this. No, it's cold. You're doing this. And I feel much better for it. So I guess it's, I might be firm but fair on other people, but I'm firm but fair on myself. But I'm a realist.
I love that. Is that something you've had to build into your character, or is that something that you were modelled from your parents?
I grew up in a military house.
Oh, well, okay.
Old man actually suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder from the Vietnam War. At one stage, he was the last actual casualty of the Vietnam War. When he passed away, we got the full military funeral from the RSL, etc. So I think, if anything, mate, I've actually backed it off from being this micromanaging, militaristic person, and I think that may have come about through a fog lifting and some self-realisation.
All right, bro.
That it actually isn't my way or the highway. I have to work with a team which is known as the Gibsons, my family. Yes.
So walk me through your childhood and what that was like, being brought up in that environment, and then I guess how that led into you being in oil and gas.
So my old man was in oil and gas as well, right? So I can relate to, an oil and gas worker goes, oh, my kids miss me, and I can actually say to that person, well, I remember when I was 9 and my old man would phone and he'd have to do extra time, and I know how much that hurt. And I remember growing up having a father present for a lot of the time, and then he'd disappear. But when he was present, okay? And that was something that I really, really learned. Like, he'd always have a project on. He'd be doing all the crap jobs during the day. And when we were picked up from school, it would be with, surfboards, cricket, golf clubs, whatever. You're always out doing something with a few of your mates in tail. But things happened precisely. There was, I have my pants are on the left-hand side and my shirts are on the right. And like that is, and your underwear drawer is like certain. And that was how I was taught and how I was, I guess, moulded to 20 years at sea, because you have to live with 100 other people in a small space and share a room with someone. So you don't want to be that person where you come in from shift and have shit everywhere. So I think that ingrained in me at an early age helped me later on, and plus also helped me like, well, that's what you do, isn't it? You go away and work in the third world or the Pilbara or wherever it be, and that's what the man does. The breadwinner does.
So how did you, when you got out to your first, or the first stint on a rig, and that process of adapting to a new way of life, did you fare better than the other people that you saw come in with you or after you because of that upbringing?
I think so, because I knew what I was in for, but then I tried to be cool, and like I didn't ask the questions, and I sort of went. There's a lot of stuff that I escaped, I think, luckily. Like oil and gas people, go and find the key to the V-door.
What's that?
It's not a thing, mate.
Oh.
It's a ramp where pipe goes up, but it's called the V-door, and you're going to find the key for that. There's no key to the V-door, and like, that's just a classic. Go down and get a tin of stripe paint and all that sort of stuff. So I was lucky. I escaped that.
Why? How did you escape that?
I don't know. Maybe I kind of knew from, the banter that it could have been happening or whatever, so I just sort of played it cool. I've been here before and it's not my first time sort of thing, and like just winged it totally. But, mate, it's you go out and you do an oil rig, go on an oil rig, which is at sea. It's a high-risk environment. You cannot walk more than 20 paces without having to turn a corner or a step over or something, unless you're on the heli deck, doing laps. And that whole sort of culture is a real eye-opener.
What was that like, beginning that journey, being so isolated?
See, it got worse for me because I surf a lot. And I got based in Karratha. No surf. There's no ways unless you go to the outer islands and you need a boat, and we're working really hard. So I had that massive thing taken away from me, and that was the start of
So what?
cracking tins. It was, you put into a town where, and this was in 2000 as well. So Karratha, if anyone was up in Karratha in 2000, known that it's not Karratha today at all.
Yeah.
It was pretty hard and pretty cool and pretty fun, but it was different, and I think that
would just be the KT back then, hey?
Oh, was it ever, mate? And I lived on Cowan Way, so it was only just a little hop, skip and jump away from the TAV. And it's funny, actually, we bought this house in Karratha, and I was actually away when we purchased this house, and I walked into the laundry and went, the carpet's the same as the tabs. And my wife goes, yeah, you know, because you're in there enough.
So for you, having surfing taken away, for a lot of people that I meet, especially when I go around to FIFO sites, and I can see, every guy that I feel is a surfer, when I look at them, I nickname them Margaret River, just because that's that's what I think of.
Yep.
And when I think Margaret River and surfers, I think like cool, calm, collected, know how to go with the flow, don't let emotion overwhelm them too much. What was surfing to you? Because that's what I've seen externally as someone who doesn't surf.
So yeah, it's exactly that. I think you have to be patient. to get waves, but you also have to negotiate crowds to be able to get waves. You have to know almost a pecking order and the rules of surfing. So it's kind of is structured. But then you also have to know that some things are out of your control, like getting flogged and being held underwater and not being able to get up. And then there's the, doing big turns and stuff and blowing waves and all that stuff. I think surfing's a great life lesson, and I think another great life lesson is skateboarding. You watch these skateboarding videos and you just see the guy doing the trick, and he lands it, board flips down, he goes down the rail and everything. You don't see the 55 times before that and all the back of his shirt and all the blood coming out of him to get that trick. And that's just keep going, fall up, get up. Just, you're going to smash this, you're going to nail it, and you're going to nail it. And it's the same as surfing, is trying to do like a turn or whatever. And it's just that, I'm going to get it, I'm going to get it. The next one's going to be better. I'm going to get a good one. The next one's going to be better. But then you're living in this state of anxiety.
Why?
Because the next one's going to be better. The next one's going to be better. The next one's going to be better.
Okay.
And then the flip side of that is when I'm on my deathbed in another 142 years, because I love longevity, I will probably, in the last hour of my life, remember the best waves of my life, and they'll be like photographic memories. Like, I remember the first time I ever got a good wave. I can actually remember, close my eyes, and it's exactly how it is. So there's a lot of ingrained stuff.
That's beautiful. One thing, read a book called, I can't remember what it's called, mate. It was about flow state by Stephen Kotler, and he talks about surveying surfers and surfers being able to drop into a flow state much better than anyone else, simply because they've cultivated the patience to wait, and then they've anchored in that feeling of getting into a flow state whenever they get on a wave. So it's really interesting to me, man. And I guess it sounds like with being a surfer and being held under the water, there's a lot of good character traits like patience, there's surrender to being held under the water, perseverance. How has that shaped the way that you've shown up in the external world?
Firm but fair. As I said, it's the only way I can really you have to be a realist and you have to be prepared. So if I want to go to the beach and I'll usually take 2 boards with me, just depends on what the conditions are like. I know my limits, so I'm a realist. And when I'm out there, I've got to hassle for waves, so that's being firm. But I'm not going to be greedy by bullying other people because my ability might be greater than theirs. So I'm going to share, I want to give a few away, but also I want to take my share, so that's the firm but fair. And look, at the end of the day, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, mate. And especially with surfing's really, really bad, people, so no one start, please. No, I'm joking. There is a lot of people in the water and a lot of people get in your way. I used to blow up, be one of those almost heavy locals, yell, and I guess in the last couple of years of my life, I've actually just gone and had that right. It's not going to achieve everything, but as soon as you get angry, that flow state goes.
Yep.
Okay? To the point where I've been burnt a few times by some guy who's maybe oblivious and everything, and my surfing goes down, and I've learned, I just paddle in, let's get a wave in, I've blown the session, well, he's blown the session for me. No, but I have chosen to let that irritate me, and now my flow state's gone, and you have to, when you're surfing well, and I think it's like life, you manifest waves to you. Just the water just seems to just stand up in front of you. I remember quite a few surfs in the last few years before I got injured, of course. I'd get away from out the back, and then as I'm paddling out, all these little waves and like cool waves would just pop up in front of me, and I'd catch 5 waves before I actually got out the back. And I'd be absolutely rooted because I wouldn't have stopped paddling. There's another one. Oh my God. Paddle out, duck. Oh God, there's another one. And I think that's another thing, recognizing that if you're in a good place, things are going to manifest and sort of come to them a little bit better. And I've really, really noticed that since stopping drinking and the fog lifting and in the water.
Beautiful, my man. I love that, and I love the awareness to paddle in and to let go of the flow state. How long you reckon it took you to get to a place where you were comfortable saying, okay, the session's done, I'm not in a state of flow, I'm going to paddle in?
30 years. No, I kid you not, mate. I've only just done this in the last couple of years, Lockie. It's just, I guess, look, when I was younger, I was an angry man and I wanted to be perfect and I wanted to be good at everything. And I guess you get this like, it's his fault. And then I went up and I started working in Karratha, and then I started drinking heaps. So it's like there was this fog around me, this alcohol fog. And it took until that fog lifted and I sort of took a step back and went, right, this ain't working. What's going to work? And then it's recognizing stuff. But if you're if it's an alcoholic fog, or you're stuck in your own ways and you're not open for new ways of dealing with stuff, you're just going to be in a fog and you're not going to be looking at this situation, how it actually is. So that's only really happened in the last 2 years of my life, mate. I'm 45 years old. It's stupid. I was like just putting your tongue on the 9-volt battery. Ooh, it hurts. Ooh, it hurts. Ooh, and you just keep on doing it and doing it and doing it, like. But you don't know what, because it's habit. I'm going to react to that person, that situation, because that's what I do. Instead of stopping and going, hold on, this ain't working. I've kind of fumbled through my life and all stop. But my all stop was a bit of a...
So when you get into drinking, what were the moments that really led to picking up the drink and then getting into it quite heavily?
It's just what you did. I moved into a house and it was, in the Pilbara. It's hot. And there's a fridge out the back. It's always got at least 3 cartons in it. So before you even kick your work off, you have 2. And then you might even go to the gym and then come back and you have another. And it's just, that's during the week. And then it's something to do. And then when you have problems, it makes them seem to go away. You become really, really charismatic and handsome as well a lot of the time when you drink. I actually become super hyper intelligent when I get on the Bundy. Ask anyone. And then it becomes an addiction. And I think that's where I got myself into a habit-forming addiction where I could not stop drinking. And that takes a while, but a while can go like that. You blink and like, where did the last 10 years of my life go?
So what did that lead to, or what did that create in your life, having that addiction?
I became massively overweight. So I ballooned out to over 110 kilos, and I ain't very tall. Because of the extra weight and me wanting to still surf and still skate, I had a perceived image, which was, remember the episode of The Simpsons where Homer's looking in the mirror and you see Homer like looking at him and the back of it's like he's all ripped with his abs, he's giving it these ones and everything. That was me. I did exactly the same thing. But I was this massive, disgusting fat body, but I still thought I looked like I did when I was in my 20s. So I think I look like that, and I'm trying to do the activities that I love, and I'm not able to do them. And now those activities are causing me physical pain because I've got massive stresses on my back. So now I'm in chronic pain all the time. I'm overweight. Then I get hurt. Or you have a really, really bad surf. The first thing you do is you go to the fridge. And then it's just this revolving door. I'm in chronic pain. I can't perform. I don't actually look good. So you start to feel like, oh, I'm just going to go to the fridge. And then you're still trying to train. And then it just gets this revolving cycle. Someone was saying the same things happen to a lot of, in the 90s, ex-Premier League players.
Mm-hmm.
They retire and they buy a pub. And then they blow out and they just become this cycle of alcoholism because they weren't the person they were. They try to train. It became really hard for them to get the weight off and look like that. Then they get depressed, and then that was the cycle.
So at what point do you notice that cycle isn't serving you and choose to do something about it?
It was a point where I'd actually just been made redundant from my job. We'd moved from the country to Perth, and I had a new mortgage, no income. I was a disgusting fat body. I was in chronic pain. I couldn't surf, and I started to plan to, let's say, not be in pain anymore. And I was planning to take my own life. And luckily for me, I stuck my hand up. Now, within 24 hours of me sticking my hand up, I was institutionalised. That was the point. Because I was just drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking, and the drinking wasn't the problem. The drinking was actually kind of helping, but it wasn't, but I thought it was, and it's just this, there's the cycle again. And that was the point, mate. 22nd of May, 5 years ago, 2016.
What was it like to be someone who was addicted to now go into a place where that wasn't an option? Like what come up for you, and what did you have to work through?
So this is the funny thing. I worked offshore, and you can't drink offshore. But I wouldn't be able to make it past, for the Perthites listening to this, main liquor when I got back home, because for some reason I stopped drinking on a plane. I don't know why I did it. I think it might have been, there was a few incidents and I was in the leadership group. Might have been a dude sitting half naked in front of a plane in Exmouth.
Wow.
Too pissed at the plane and just, recruit. I went, right, that's being monitored. So I didn't do that. So when I got institutionalised, and you're right, I can't drink. I was scared. But for some reason, I thought this is really going to help me, and I need to engage my ratio, which I talked to you about, of 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened. And it began to unpack the tools that I needed. And in there, I would know that if I stopped drinking for good, my life would become infinitely better. So just my fitness and the body wants to repair itself, yeah? And quickly. So I went in there and I tried to go for a run on my first day and I couldn't. 2 weeks, the place is in West Perth. I'd run to Kings Park, down the Kokoda track, along the front, and then do 2 laps of Jacob's Ladder and then run back home. That was 2 weeks, and before that, I could not run. So that shows you how much the body wanted to repair. but also I was repairing mentally as well. I was given a lot of tools.
What were you unpacking? What were you using your addiction to alcohol to avoid?
Anger, frustration.
With what?
Rage. A lot of stuff that had happened in the past, you know, like I'd been dealt a few bad hands, and I was in victim mode, and that made me really, really angry. And I realised that playing the victim, doesn't work, it's happened. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. You know, the old move on. But look, how do you move on? How do you build the bridge and get over it? How do you do that? I didn't know. No one had ever shown me. Until now, I'm in a mental health hospital right at the bottom of my life, and people go, oh, okay, cool. You're shit and you're really, really in some crisis. Now we'll give you the tools. But I've been in the mental health system for 20 years as well.
How so?
I suffer from chronic anxiety and depression. But because there's not enough practitioners, or is there not enough sort of help as I was going through, and like I started getting on medication when they were like really bad, mate. Like you take your medication, you just sweat and like you're off your head on disco drugs. And you just go, this isn't working. So you sort of lose that faith in it.
Yeah.
But then it's also, I wasn't in the mindset of what you have to manage your recovery and you have to manage your own medication and stuff. So now I'm here in this institution, I was actually, right, this is serious and this is what I need to do. And I actually got my medication on track, which worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of all spoon-fed to me, which I think a lot of people need. You know, they need to be, you know, we talk in this space about being, you know, green, amber and red.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I was in the red, but I've never been taught to be in the green. I never knew these things, and it's actually not that hard. So that's where that sort of all unpacked my ability to recognise an emotion, deal with that emotion, and basically like he brainwash myself out of it.
When you say deal with that emotion, what do you mean?
Realise that that's an emotion and that's okay to feel like that. And let it in. Be angry, punch the pillow, scream in the pillow, do whatever you have to do, but realise it's normal. But just say, yeah, that's cool. I'll realise it's there, but it's no good for you.
Okay. And
So every time
what's that process look like for you?
I look at it as a pendulum, eh? So you've got like you're clipping out here, and you start, that emotion starts swinging, you know, you go from extreme highs to extreme lows, and every time you kind of deal with that,
yep,
the pendulum swings less violently until you sort of found this sort of equilibrium in the middle. Like, yeah, you're going to get pissed off and you're going to get angry and frustrated, but it's not going to go bing like that. And it only takes 2 minutes to do. No, I'm joking. It takes a lot of work. And this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
That's huge. What have you had to process from your past to shift that anger, or shift that emotion from the past so that anger doesn't become something that's triggered because of what has happened?
See, I've talked about this before, and I reckon it's really, really cool in life because you get to choose. You get to choose what you have for breakfast. You get to choose what you're going to wear on the day. And you actually get to choose how you're going to act and ultimately how you're going to feel. So I chose poorly back then. I chose poorly for my actions. I chose poorly for my responses, and that created my reality, I guess. So I had to come to terms with that I chose poorly.
Yep.
But now I know that I chose poorly and I get to choose a better solution. And I need to realise that I can't turn back those decisions that I made which shaped my life and shaped the bad hands that I'd been dealt with, because I chose to react badly, which made me feel angry, frustrated.
Based off of what?
Just what was happening externally. Like this last downturn in the oil and gas industry, someone said something that's going to resonate with me for the rest of my life. It said, you cannot do anything for the outcome. If you're going to get a tap on the shoulder, it's not you a lot of the time. It's because your position and all those other positions like yours globally have been made redundant. It's just unfortunately sucked in. You did that job. The only thing you can do is choose how you react to that. You can be bitter, you can beat up the industry, you can go, righto, it's what's happened. I choose to either retrain myself or find another job and get on with it. And that's what's really resonated with me.
Awesome. So with being institutionalized, how did you then approach alcoholism or addiction to alcohol, and then eventually get to the point where you're now sober?
So, I got picked up from the institution. Went, righto, we're not drinking. Lasted about 35 minutes. When we went out to lunch, I ordered my first Peroni Ligaro. It was a light beer though, so look, I wasn't getting into the chooks straight away. And it was then a process that I knew that I had to do this, and I started journaling. Okay, because they said that in there, a really, really good thing is to journal, get your feelings down on paper so you can actually go through and see how you felt and see how you... And it's like almost a little playbook, I guess. But my journaling started to look like a book. So I started writing A Year Without Beer in real time. So with the journaling, with the... You know, there's a lot of affirmations that you get taught. There's a lot of creative visualization that you get taught to do as well. And then there's a lot of, you know, recognizing and regulating your emotions. So my drinking slowly got lower and lower until I eventually reached the point where I could step into sobriety wholeheartedly. It took 562 days from my start date. It didn't happen overnight. And it's no, you know, news to anyone that I got over the line via clinical hypnosis. But with working with clinical hypnotherapists, and they've all said the same thing, because you wanted it so bad and you failed and failed and failed and failed and failed, but you're still noticing that you're reducing your intake, and you got to the point where it was manageable, but you couldn't actually get over the line, that's where the hypnotherapy will more than likely work like that. And that was my story. So basically is Denzel Washington did a great speech called Fall Forward.
Yep.
And that's what I did. Oh, I've drunk too much. Oh, I've had a bender. Righto, that is all part of the process. I know I've reacted, I feel, and actually acknowledging what the booze is doing, not saying poor me, not getting angry, sticking your hand up, getting on with it, and trying a little bit better next time.
So with that mentality, where does that come from? Because that takes a deal of ownership and a level of being able to take responsibility for your actions without shaming yourself. Like how did you build that into your...
I think it was with a lot of the tools, a lot of the things that I was, you know, so once I had this realization that I needed to give up drinking, and I got out of the institution, I was armed with all this mindfulness crap and blah, 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 and all this new stuff that I thought was, new to me and everything, but no, it's been out for like thousands of years, I started going, wow, okay, I'm going to research this, and there's a documentary, and there's there's an app, and there's a book. So I started reading a lot. And in a lot of that text then, also seeing a therapist as well, who was great. She goes, you are not meant to spend your whole life in therapy. We need to make sure you can regulate your own stuff. So that was how I went back to emotional kindergarten in my 40s.
Sheesh, bro, that belly is going
belly
nuts.
Is rumble. Get this man a banana. I should have picked my non-fasting day to come and talk to you, bro. I hope the mic's picking it up.
I'm sure it would be,
That's
man.
so funny.
So what was the belief before hypnosis, and what was the belief after?
It was miles apart. So the reason I got hypnotised, I pretty much developed gout in my knee. All right, I'm in my physio.
I thought Kiwis were the only ones supposed to get that.
I'm half Kiwi, mate.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
My mum's an Auckland girl.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Nice.
So, yeah, mate. Where were we? Got Kiwi gout in my knee, though. Went to the physio, and it wasn't my regular dude, so I had a fresh pair of eyes. And this chick goes, she knew about I was writing this book, and she goes, it's not about your book, it's about you. Go and get hypnotised. 2 days later, we got hypnotised, and then it was just this, wow, I'm actually doing this, and I know that it's stuck, and my life has totally changed. And it was really, really good because it was just this big, I got given a new start. So I guess that's how it was.
Okay, so with being someone in oil and gas, and then going from being institutionalized, having all these tools, researching them, being hypnotized, how has it been for you integrating all of that stuff into being someone who is within oil and gas, which is like historically or generally an industry that doesn't lean into like the woo-woo stuff that mindfulness would be considered?
Didn't talk about it. It was my stuff. But, see, at this stage I had my feet under the desk and I was working on a project with Woodside. And I guess it was a case of, if you want something done, give it to the busy person. And now because I didn't drink and I wasn't hungover and I wasn't hiding a hangover in morning meetings or whatever, my productivity just went through the roof. So I turned a 9-month contract into almost 3.5 years because I didn't drink. I'd go out and people are going, you're not drinking? No. You're at the pub? Yep. Why? Then I tell my story of, I got hypnotised and blah, blah, blah. And you end up with like 5 or 10 people around. You just go, this guy's a freak. How can he be at the pub and not want to drink and not even care about it? And he's offering us all. And then one person would come up and go, hey, you got that number for that hypnotherapist, mate, because I'm drinking way too much and I can't stop. The industry has a major problem with it, but you can't stick your hand up. Well, and the thing is like, do I say that sundowners and company sundowners are bad? No, they're amazing. It's a great social activity and I think they need to be absolutely going forward. But it is the mindfulness stuff and everything. It's not, as a whole industry, it's not ready for it yet. It will be ready for it in a decade. But the time is now to start introducing it.
And I mean, we're going through this process because we set up the Association for Mental Health in Mining. Mm-hmm. We've been thinking about the sundowners, and it's like, do we have alcohol available, and does that tarnish the fact that we're going to be talking about mental health? And I guess what the decision we've come to is we've got to meet people where they are. We can't try and cut out what helps them socialize. We just have to have like this level of trust and expectation that people coming to our events won't overdrink, won't compensate, and treat people like adults and trust them enough to
imagine that.
trust them enough to do the righty,
And this is the thing: is a lot of like industry will just go, "Oh, that's happened," and knee-jerk reaction, and just righto, everyone needs to wear zips on their boots because of we can't wear zips on our boots, so we'll spend millions of dollars instead of training the man. You just mechanically remove, and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
People need to be adults. People need to make choices. And as I said before, I used to choose poorly. But now with all these tools and I'm now sober, there's a bit of clarity and I think I make better decisions. Fuck, imagine that. Imagine how many people are listening to this go, I probably didn't do that well when I made that choice, and it was because I was hungover or just been on a weekend bender. And a lot of people and clients that I do work with, it's the same story. But we got industry now has got massive problems with poor choices. I'm in oil and gas, but I'm reading in the press around stuff in mining camps and everything, and just I guess the whole culture is a big, heavy, wet mess culture. And I think you've spoken about this before. And it's not like you have your few, but on when you finish your shift, you're going to fly out the next day. You just get buckled. But then again, so do we, because we come off the rig and usually go into some poor town.
Or like Broome or something.
Which has got like 30 guys that are just chopping off who are going absolutely hard. And then they go to their families, and it's fun, but know when to switch it off.
So what were the decisions before? What are the decisions now? What are the tools that have helped you most go from those decisions that don't serve you to ones that do?
So decisions coming out of frustration, anger, rage. Having the story in your head that you want to say to a colleague to tell him how shit he is, but you're never going to say it anyway to him, but you want to. And you're thinking, hold on, that's just me being a dick. Stop. So you try and stop, then the story comes back. Try and stop, story comes back. But the more you practice the mindfulness, the leaves on the stream technique, you dive into your toolbox full of shit, the conversation will start, and within minutes it's stopped. And you go about thinking about good stuff instead of being negative. That's helped me massively, mate. I was just this full negative, sarcastic.
I can't imagine it.
I know, mate. I was, look, it was funny, but it was still negative.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't happen in public. It happens when you're doing like this and driving to work, and then you got to put on this act and be happy, but you still got that bubbling around the back of your head, and pretty much the smoke's just coming out of your ears all day, and you're not actually on task because you're thinking about other stuff. Then you got to go home, and it's just this. How's your day? Shit. Go in the fridge. Because you've been negative all day, and that was me. But until you can catch yourself, that's when it's, oh, cool. Let's go kick the footy, boy. Oh, I'm going this, or I'm doing that.
Yep.
So you want to, do you punish yourself? Like when you had a shit day, like going to the fridge or whatever, because you kind of know it's going to hurt the next day. It's like a short-term, solution.
Yeah. Mm. Well, let's go through what you've now created as a byproduct of going through that, and now I think you said 2 years sober.
Yep.
Beautiful.
June 7th.
Woo!
Woof.
Congrats, man.
Thank you, man.
So what you've created is you've written a book.
Yep.
And you put together a course to help both men and women.
So it was both men and women.
Yep.
Now it's just men.
Cool.
Because I've joined forces with another sobriety coach.
Wow.
And she's got no interest in dealing with men and I'm kind of the same. So, yeah, we just swap out.
All right.
I've developed a course which is based on my journey into sobriety. And it comes in 8 easy weeks, and it's based on my book.
And so what is the process, or what does that look like for someone who is like you, who is using alcohol as a form of avoiding anger, sadness, whatever emotion that they don't want to touch or be in, using alcohol to do that? What sort of process are you looking to help someone or walk someone through so that they go from where you were making bad decisions to a place where they're making better decisions and hopefully pulling themselves off the beer?
So I guess the process is identification.
Mm-hmm.
And, we spend a lot of money on stuff that we don't need. Yeah. So why not invest in yourself a little bit? The person might be chronically overweight. That might be a depressing thing that maybe want them to get drinking. They might be in pain. That's annoying. I can attest to that, at least the fridge. So the process of eliminating stuff, the process of making better choices mentally, but also better choices physically. Because you don't see, a footy team or a rugby team about to go into the game on Saturday. The coach goes, "Righto, boys, make sure you go and drink a carton tonight because we got, a pretty hard side we're up against on the weekend." Coach doesn't say that, do they? So if you look at it from that peak performance thing, it's no good for you. So it's maybe backing it off and giving you the choice. But I'm not going to dilute, tell everyone what the course is. But look, at the end of the day, mate, the course is worth 2 Ubers for the 8 week. It's nothing.
Well,
so if you think you are drinking too much, 2 Ubers, couple of pints, dip your toe in the water and have a look at it. It can't hurt. And it's setting your mind up through also a meditation process, which is woo-woo. But if you do it, one of our good friends and colleagues has actually done the meditation. It sounds amazing, actually. It's better than his one that he had going for another program that he ran. You go into sleep hygiene, you go into all these things that will just give you the tools to make better decisions and will actually show you that far out it's physically possible to drink less. And there's some little challenges in there that are going to really, I wouldn't say these are major challenges. But yeah, and it's okay to fail. That's the main thing that, it comes. But it shows that you are able to get on this process and you'll notice that a fog will lift.
Awesome, my man. So for someone jumping in who's maybe a little anxious, who doesn't know whether they want to commit to it or not, who doesn't know if, or doesn't believe that they can get off the beers, what would you say to them?
Get on the call.
Cool. So that's an option?
Absolutely, mate. My details are all on the page, Instagram and Facebook. Get_off it. Folks.
I'll put the links in the bio as well.
Perfect. Yeah. So get on a call. I've had a couple of these calls. It's been a few pretty full on calls as well, and people have definitely started to think, yeah, okay, this is probably something for me. The initial call is like, yes, if I can do this, I was an absolute piss wreck. If I can do it, I think anyone on this planet can have a good hard crack. You just got to want to do it.
Yeah, and it helps to have someone like you who's been through the process play a supporting role.
Absolutely, mate. You want to thought, right, if he can do it and he's saying this, and wow, look at him. Like, my life now looks nothing like it did 24 months ago. Like, it's totally changed. My relationships with my kids, my relationship with my wife, I'm not in pain anymore. It's just, yeah. But I'm not telling people to quit alcohol. It's not a thing to get. It's an alcohol management program.
I love that.
If you are drinking too much and your alcohol is unmanageable, well, let's bring it back into a manageable state.
Beautiful.
For your lifestyle.
I love that. How do you, knowing everything that you've been through, knowing that you're now playing a supporting role, you've got a book, you've got a course, you're helping men manage their alcohol so that they're not dependent, so that they're not constantly showing up and making poor decisions because of it. How do you feel about yourself now?
Busy. I haven't really had time to really think about that. I know I'm doing good and everyone's like patting me on the back and everything, and I have probably just said about this month, right, stop! I need to take this all in. I need to take a step back. It's been very, very busy getting and developing all this stuff. But look, I feel almost obligated because I can talk to people, I can coach, and I have done this, and I feel like it's almost, my mission is to help people who want a bit of a no bullshit. I'm not going to be, no, you need to do this, you're falling behind, let's get back on track. I'm going to be compassionate, but I'm also going to be real. So, yeah. And if that's the kind of...
Firm but fair, some would say.
Yeah, I've heard that before as well.
I just made that up.
Yeah. So, yeah, a definitely firm but fair approach. I'm not the only one on the planet doing this. I'm one of the few people that's got an online course here in Australia doing it. So there's different flavours. And look, at the end of the day, we're all competitive. You've got to choose the right flavour for yourself and who you're going to resonate with.
Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah, mate, I actually am. And it comes down to surfing again. As the weight came off and as I came motivated, people actually would say to me in the car park, have you just surfed or are you going out? And I'd say, I'm about to go out. And they'd just laugh and go, I'm not going out with you because you get all the good ones. Yes. And comments like, oh yeah, I've got a couple and he caught 44 waves. Yes. Paddling around like a 12-year-old boy, mate, in my mid-40s, just feels so good to just catch more waves to something that I was struggling with, and surfing now is fun again. And that's the actual mechanical thing that you notice, and then obviously your relationships.
Love that.
I still get frustrated because I've got kids, but I don't blow up.
What are you most grateful for right now? I guess having my eyes opened and realising that there's a whole different world out there and that it is possible to heal yourself.
and being firm and fair on myself, as some would say, it's not easy. You got to want to do it. But I think that's what I'm really, really grateful for, is how far I've come and being able to do this for myself and realising that I've done this for myself, because no one else is going to do it. People can show you all the stuff, but unless you actually have the discipline to do it, it's not going to happen for you.
Love that. Last question, my man. If you had the chance to put a message on a billboard somewhere, thousands of people would see it every day, what would that message be?
Drinking shit. No.
With emojis.
With emojis, yeah. You get to choose. Maybe with, that man doing that, the Captain America dude or something like that in a cartoon for. You get to choose. And that is the most important thing in life, is you're going to choose badly, you're going to choose well, but you get to choose. It's not anyone else, it's you.
I love that. Ownership.
Absolutely, mate.
To wrap this up, bro, I want to say thank you.
Thanks for having me.
For making time, but also for the transition that you've been through and your constant, the way that you've committed to yourself, and seeing you, I guess, knowing you over the last, I think, 9 months to a year, just seeing this constant.
It's only that long.
I know, right? Seeing this constant evolution, man, makes me really proud of you.
Cheers, man.
To see you put out the book and to put out a course and to now be in this place of supporting other people, being somewhat of a top dog in oil and gas and subsea, and then coming to this place where you're putting your magic out there, you're presenting, you're using your gift, which is obviously storytelling.
Who would have thought?
I'm really proud of you.
Cheers,
I'm really proud, man.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
You.
Thanks, guys.